In 1958, when their chosen mountain was denied and superstition threatened to end everything, 8 men turned toward an almost unknown peak, Haramash, where storms, avalanches, and isolation would decide whether they returned at all.
Hey, glad you're here. Welcome to the Himalayan Journals. Here on this channel, we bring to you real stories from century old field notes. We try to keep it simple and calm here. Think of it as a documented history of the Himalayas from the early 1900s, covering stories of indigenous wisdom, epic expeditions, and groundbreaking science passed on just as they were recorded. Subscribe, zone out, binge.
In 1958, the Austrian Himalaya Society found its plans blocked before they had properly begun. An attempt on Hidden Peak at 26,470 feet was refused permission by the government of Pakistan, and alternative objectives on the Baltoro were already allotted to other expeditions. In the end, approval came for Haramash, a mountain of 24,270 feet, about which little was written. For H. Ruas, the leader, it was a peak he had scarcely noticed before, except from the air during a flight to Skardu in 1956. Now, it was to become the sole objective of the expedition. The party consisted of 8 men, 3 scientists, 4 climbers, and a doctor who was also an experienced mountaineer. They left Vienna on March 28, 1958, traveled by sea via Genoa and the Suez Canal, reached Karachi on April 11th and Rawalpindi on April 16th. After completing formalities, they flew to Gilgit on April 19th and drove down the Indus Valley to Sasli. Heavy rain, damaged roads, and floods delayed them, and at Sasli, they struggled to recruit porters. With 125 porters and 14 donkeys, they finally entered the Haramash Valley on April 27th, passing through Tasso and Barash and reaching Iskere at 8,136 feet the following evening. At Iskere, superstition nearly ended the expedition. A local witch doctor declared that the spirits of the mountains were angered and predicted death and curses for those who helped. The porters believed him. Work slowed to a crawl, and only a few men agreed to continue. With them, the climbers crossed the Mani Glacier and established a temporary forest camp at about 10,500 feet. Loads were carried up in relays, and it was not until May 16th that base camp at 11,155 feet was finally occupied, beneath avalanche-threatened slopes leading to the Haramash La. Difficulties followed at once. Avalanches repeatedly flattened tents, and during work on the route to the pass, the expedition doctor fell 100 feet and broke several ribs. The Hunza porters, convinced the witch doctor's prophecy was being fulfilled, refused further work. Relations deteriorated, and the Hunzas were sent home. With no porters left, weeks were lost while replacements were sought from Gilgit. In the meantime, the climbers themselves carried loads again and again up the 4,600-foot route to the Haramash La, making 40 journeys each way to secure their supplies. By mid-June, Camp Fern was established on the pass at 15,750 feet. Progress above was slow. An ice fall barred access to the upper glacier, and only on June 24th was Camp 2 placed at 18,375 feet near the Mani Peaks. Attempts to climb Mani Peak 2 were repelled by a steep 700-foot ice wall. After days of effort, A tent was finally pitched at its foot, and on the third day of climbing the wall, Manny Peak 2 was reached. Loads were hauled over the summit, and Camp 3 was set up at 20,340 feet on July 15th. From Camp 3, Mandel and Roas climbed Manny Peak 4 at 21,160 feet to reconnoiter the route. Ahead lay a 4-mile ridge leading to Haramosh, broken by cornices and repeated ascents and descents. Before they could attempt it, the weather closed in. Snowstorms and high winds forced a retreat, and the monsoon broke early. For 2 weeks, the party was confined to lower camps, clearing snow and listening anxiously to weather reports. On July 31st, after 16 days, the sun appeared. With only a brief respite forecast, the expedition set out again on August 1st. Deep snow slowed progress. Illness reduced their numbers, and loads had to be carried by the climbers themselves. Camp 3 was regained, and on August 3rd, Mandel, Roas, and Power alone were fit enough to continue. Early on August 4th, after placing Camp 4 at 19,685 feet, they moved out across the long ridge in moonlight and bitter cold. By mid-morning, they reached the shoulder of Haramosh at 22,640 feet. Exhausted, fighting wind and unstable snow, they advanced step by step. At 2 p.m. on August 4th, 1958, 13 hours after leaving Camp 4, they stood on the summit of Haramosh at 24,270 feet. They fixed the flags of Pakistan and Austria to an ice axe, left a wooden cross in memory of climbers lost in 1957, and took photographs before the storm closed in again. The descent was a struggle for survival. Snow and wind erased their tracks, and darkness found them crawling toward their tent. 19 hours after setting out, they collapsed inside Camp 4. Over the following days, they fought their way back across the ridge, down the ice wall, and finally to Camp 1, reaching safety 6 days after they had left. In mid-August, remaining loads were salvaged. By August 23rd, the expedition was back at Sasli, and on the 25th, they drove to Gilgit. Choosing the long road home, they crossed the Babusar Pass and reached Rawalpindi on August 31st, carrying with them the memory of a hard-won ascent and a mountain that had tested them to the very limit.